Thank you very much. Thank you, Hugh. Hello to all of you. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. It's a real pleasure and honor to be in Athens, Tennessee, the friendly city. I played golf with a good friend of mine today who's an Athens native, and Larry Pratt, and he was sharing with me some Athens, Tennessee history in relation to Tennessee football. So I learned a lot. Most of you probably know this, but for you young people, it's a little history lesson. 1959, known as the Stop. Athens native Wayne Grubb stopped Billy Cannon on a goal line stand. Jim Cartwright had a great game, also from Athens, Tennessee. 1971, Phil Pierce led a 99-yard drive to beat Florida down there, another Athens native. 1979, Hubert Simpson had 4 touchdowns to upset Notre Dame in Knoxville. And then my only connection to Athens, Tennessee is my wife, Ashley. Her uncle is Sandy Wilson, who's a minister in Memphis. He married Ashley and I. He is a Wilson from here in Athens, Tennessee, from the Wilson family, Wilson Plow Company. So that's my connection to Athens, Tennessee. So someone was asking me earlier if tonight at all I was going to talk about Papa John's Pizza, nationwide commercials, or hosting Saturday Night Live. And I said, well, I really wasn't planning on it. I was going to talk a little bit more about community service, overcoming adversity, and leadership. And the guy just looked kind of disappointed. And, so I've been known to call an audible or two in my life, so I'm going to call an audible here, and I'll share a couple stories with you about those 3 topics, and then share a few more serious thoughts with you, and then come up and answer some questions that you have written in. But Papa John's Pizza, I pay for my pizza when I order Papa John's Pizza. Papa John himself is nice enough to give me a gift card, $10 off gift card. I use a gift card every now and then when I order my pizza, but I do pay for it. But I am in the Papa John's business out there in Denver. I'm partners with Papa John's, the corporate office, and about 25 stores out there. And listen, I know there's some real successful business people here in the crowd tonight. I can't give you any business advice, but what I can tell you is that due to some recent law changes out there in Colorado, the pizza business is pretty good right now. A lot of late night orders, it seems like. Nationwide commercial. I'm sure you've seen this particular nationwide commercial. It's kind of taken a life of its own on with me. That people come up to me now and they don't speak to me, they come up and just jingle to me. I was at a restaurant last week, the waitress came up and said, "What would you like to eat?" And I was like, I said, let's not do that. Let's just talk like human beings for a minute. But we were in a meeting last year after a Broncos practice, and we were watching the film of the practice from the day before. And basically, I had thrown a pass into double coverage. And let me just say that for some reason, my receivers, I just see a smile on their face when I'm getting yelled at by one of our coaches. They just seem to enjoy that. So I throw a pass into double coverage. And basically, the coach says, "Peyton, this is a bad decision. This is greedy. It's undisciplined. The running back is wide open right in front of you. You're throwing the ball into double coverage. This is going to hurt the team on Sunday. We can't have it. You got to make a better decision. Take what the defense gives you, lay the ball off to the running back." So I said, "Yes, sir." And right behind me, our receiver, Demarius Thomas, has got this big smile on his face. He says, "Number 18 screwed it up." Felt like I was being set up for that one, so he might have used a different word, but that's okay. And then lastly, people often ask me about hosting Saturday Night Live, and the one that they ask me the most about is this skit for United Way where I was throwing the passes to these kids. And people don't believe me, but this football was a Nerf football, and the Nerf was cut out. I promise you, it was as light as a feather, but they put those sound effects with it. Boy, it looks like you're just knocking these kids out. And I'm telling you, I just did not feel comfortable doing it because the director said, "Peyton, here's how this is going to work. this is a spoof for United Way. You're a charitable guy. The only way this is going to work, you have got to sell it. I mean, you have got to be full speed on these throws. You got to hit these kids right in the head. And I kept thinking, I said, my mom is going to be so disappointed. And I was not going to do it until finally all these kids were all child actors. And their parents were there the entire time, kind of right on top of them. And I wasn't going to do it until I heard one of the mothers of the child actors literally yelling at the director, I want him to hit my kid in the face. So I said, I will do it. I will knock your kid out. I've been very fortunate. I get to travel around the country a little bit in the off season. And I get a chance to say a few words to organizations and people who most often want to better understand how to lead or how to be led, how to excel in ultra-competitive environments, including both winning and losing with grace. Because no matter who you are, as people, companies, cities, or nations, at some point, all of us will probably rise to the top someday, and we'll all seem to fall to what seems to be the bottom. But it's times and places like this one here tonight that I love to come to, because you've gathered here tonight, not as a company wanting to discover how to trash your opponents, not as individuals mapping a way to claw to the top of your professional ladder, but mostly tonight as a community, a diverse group of people who collectively make a home and a life in a place that has become important to you. Because of that, and despite your differences, you work together to make this community one that you can be proud of, one that you'll want to grow old in, one that will be magnetic enough to draw your children who may have scattered away to the winds, to bring them back someday, to continue to build the legacy of a place worthy of belonging to, of calling home. Because community is more than just a place. It is an untapped reservoir and a sense of belonging. And that's why I am really proud tonight to play a small part in the efforts of the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce. The other side of being part of a community like this one is that we get so comfortable that we may not even notice what's changing right around us, or that we too have to make changes in order to compete. Now, I'm going to stop right here and say that this does not include your chamber president, Rob Preston, because as I hear it, after competing in and most often winning grueling marathons in all 50 states, Rob, with a healthy dose of authority, can tell anybody what's so great about Athens, Tennessee, and why he keeps running back to it. Rob is obviously a very competitive person. And when you are a competitive person, it is a part of your fiber. It drives your thinking, it feeds your desires, it directs your actions. And since intense competition is the standard today, it does test our skills, our hearts, and it will bounce back, help us bounce back after inevitably those setbacks. But to do that effectively, you have got to be prepared, in my opinion, to be a game changer. The alternative is to be left in the dust. Very few fans ever get to experience the unique character of a tunnel before a ball game. So tonight, I want to give you that chance. Imagine for a minute that we're in the stadium, and you're with me in the tunnel right before our team is going to run out of that field to compete. Well, as players, we're waiting in the shadows. Some are silent, lost in thoughtful preparation. Others are bouncing off the walls, ready to burst out into that field for one more chance to compete. Well, the fans and the real action are in the sunlight just beyond. As players, we can hear the announcers calling our names and the crowd erupting into cheers. When we're in that tunnel, it's the last time that we can let our emotions affect us. Because once we're on the field, we have to focus. and tune everything else out and just do our job and play ball. Now, visualize whatever your equivalent is of the football field. Like that stadium that the players are about to stampede, you are on the verge of running into the spotlight. The magnitude is bigger, the lights are brighter, jumbo Videotron more imposing, and certainly your competition is fiercer. Now the question is, are you ready? Helen Keller once said that worse than being blind is being able to see, yet have no vision. Well, vision turns out to be as essential to survival as oxygen is to the brain. And since excellence never happens by chance, there has to be a person or an organization with the wherewithal to navigate to the pinnacle of success. And that's what I call leadership. History has proven that every profession has powerful leaders. However, there are also those frauds who hold leadership positions, but are little more than a facade holding a seat at the head table or a nameplate on the door. There are also leaders in the making, those who emerge as they set their sights on and work towards becoming someone that others will follow, even when everybody else may be going in the opposite direction. For a quarterback, the difference between sight and vision really starts at the line of scrimmage. When I'm on that field, what I try to do is to see how our opponent is lined up and then find something of value that may not be evident to fans in the stands, television viewers at home, or even members of my own team. That's when I'll call an audible, change the play, and hopefully improve my team's chances of success. Because when you look closely, or you scrutinize your surroundings, what do you see that may not be evident to your competitors? What can differentiate or create value for you and your organizations? Well, my goal is to be a game changer. And from the time we're drafted in the NFL, a quarterback is expected to be able to lead a team of fearless, talented, multi-millionaires with all the bravados of the best leaders in this room tonight. But it's a little different at the college level, where a quarterback, I think, requires just a bit more grooming. I remember the first time I ran into the huddle when I was a freshman at Tennessee. We were playing up at UCLA in the Rose Bowl. Keith Jackson, Bob Greasy broadcasting the game on national television. 95,000 people in the stands. I'm third team on the depth chart. Not expecting to play at all that game, probably not the entire season. Just kind of happy to be in the stadium that night. Well, if you remember, on the seventh play of that game, our starting quarterback, Jerry Colquitt, tears his knee. He is out for the year. Our backup quarterback was a guy named Todd Helton. Let's just say that Todd was kind of thinking about that baseball signing bonus he was about to get. He wasn't real crazy about going into the game at that point either. He had a can of Skoal in his pants. So we're getting beat something like 17-0. Our team's in a bad mood. We've lost our starting quarterback for the year. Coach Fulmer comes to me and says, "Peyton, you're going in." And boy, I didn't think I was nervous. I looked down at all the hair on my arms just sticking straight up. So I'm jogging into that huddle. I remember something my dad had told me. He said, "Son, if you ever get into the huddle with the starters at any point in the season, it may be in the fourth quarter of a blowout, it may be in practice, it doesn't matter. You be the leader and you take control of that huddle. That's your job as the quarterback. You're just 18 years old. Most of these seniors are 21, 22. It doesn't matter. You be the leader and you take control of that huddle." So I remembered old Dad's advice, and I get into that huddle. I said, "All right, guys, I know I'm just a freshman, but I can take us down the field right now. Get us a touchdown. Get us back in this game. Let's go." Big left tackle, about 6'5", 330 pounds, Jason Lehman from Sevier County, grabs him by the shoulder and says, "Hey, freshman, shut the blank up and call the blank and play." And I said, "Yes, sir." That was really great advice from my dad, I tell you. I really appreciated that. That was a long, long time ago, 21 years ago, as a matter of fact, and much has happened since then. But something that hasn't changed is that a huge part of my life is still spent on the football field. A field that has very clear boundaries, very strict rules, almost zero margin for error, and millions of Monday morning quarterbacks. Now, you may not have the literal boundaries of a football field in what you do, but like football, most environments have some pretty exacting parameters with their own strict set of rules and regulations. But our personal and our professional journeys rarely follow a straight line. To me, life seems more like those random squiggles that my 4-year-old twins draw with their crayons and we use to hang on our refrigerator. Everyone has those moments when we have to face things that we don't want to happen in our lives, but we have to accept. Things that we don't want to know, but we have to learn. There are also times when we are so off base that when we badly misspell a word on our smartphone, even autocorrect says, hey, I have no idea what you're thinking about here. However, there are also moments of impact, potential game changers that leaders will search out, they'll recognize, and they'll act on. I know that there are game changers sitting in this room tonight, business folks, teachers, doctors, people who sense something that others don't, then have the guts and the ability and in some cases the resources necessary to act on it. The action itself creates a significant shift in the current way of thinking about or doing something. And it can have a major effect on the communities and the people that you serve. So what does it take to make that kind of difference, especially when everything is on the line? In general, some people and organizations have become too comfortable, lazy maybe unimaginative. But there's a lot of rehashing of old ideas, yet they make themselves believe that the old ideas are actually new ways of thinking. They're more intent on being comfortable than proactively moving forward. So tonight, I want to share with you some game-changing essentials that have been instrumental for me in my 18-year NFL career. And game changer number one is to learn to thrive on being uncomfortable. I find myself in uncomfortable situations daily, and that discomfort makes me push my limits. I'm stronger and I'm better prepared, I feel, for anything that may come my way. As much as a quarterback would love to have a perfect pocket every time he drops back to pass, that's just not real life. So you have to be prepared. If you were to come to a Colts or a Broncos practice when I was playing, you would see me working on what I call awkward throws. You'd see me dropping back to pass, and you'd see a coach throwing a blocking dummy into my feet, simulating a defensive lineman about to hit me as I'm throwing. You'd see an equipment manager backing into me as I'm throwing, simulating an offensive lineman coming back toward me as I'm trying to make a throw. Thriving in those situations is what the real challenge is. The evolution of the NFL may not be obvious to the general public, but to those of us in the league, the changes seem like a slow dripping faucet one day and a major pipe burst the next. Whether big or small, each change creates a new dynamic that we have to adjust to. And I can't name a market or profession or business out there that isn't facing constant flux, which in turn requires constant adjustments to adapt to new conditions. A few years back, one of our draft choices was nice enough to come up to me and share with me that he was 5 years old when I was a senior at the University of Tennessee. He said he really enjoyed watching me play on those old ESPN Classic games. Yep. He was a wide receiver. He didn't catch any passes that year. I'm sorry if you had him on your fantasy team. It taught me a lesson, however, because it was remarkable to realize for me that much like the rest of the world, a new generation had entered the workforce with different expectations, different experiences, and a different vocabulary. So to be successful as a leader, I needed to make a whole new set of adjustments to learn to lead my new and younger teammates in new and different ways. Game changer number 2 is devote yourself to intense, meticulous preparation. After 17 years of attending NFL training camps, I still relish the opportunity to study the basic fundamentals before each and every season. I'm a note taker. I like to write things down. My notebook from 2014 probably looks just the same as mine from 1999, writing down the most basic fundamentals of my job as the quarterback. A few years ago, the NFL instituted a new rule that prohibited teammates from practicing together at the club's facilities until the middle of April. The reasons: to protect player safety, health, and longevity. Well, those rules don't take into consideration the player who wants to be there early and wants to be coached. Essentially, this rule penalizes the gym rat or the rookie looking to get a head start on his competition. Well, not being able to work out early in the off season with my teammates creates a problem for me. It's like being lost in the desert without water, or George Strait on stage without his guitar. Ultimately, limiting practice early on, in my opinion, affects everything from training camp to the regular season right into the postseason, because off-season workouts are indicators of how well a team is going to perform when it really counts. Now, all 32 teams have these same restrictions, so we all have the same challenges. So we were looking for some way to find an edge on our competition, because as competitors, we're all looking for that edge, something that can maximize our outcomes. And at times, I think we need someone else to point us in the right direction. And that leads to game changer number 3, invest in a coach. Everyone, and I mean everyone, no matter how experienced or seasoned you are, needs a coach to continue to grow. So for a few years now, my brother Eli and I have looked to our former football coach, David Cutcliffe, who's now the head coach at Duke University. Well, Coach Cutcliffe, as most of you know, he was my offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach when I was at Tennessee, and he was Eli's head coach when Eli was at Ole Miss. Well, he knows us both inside and out, and he doesn't hesitate to point things out that other coaches may not. Again, it doesn't matter how seasoned we are. Everyone can use a coach, someone to nurture talent, whether that's in the field, in the classroom, or in the office. Someone who has the capacity and the willingness to point out what works, and more candidly, what doesn't work. I still like being coached. I actually get angry when I'm not coached. I want someone with the knowledge and the insight to isolate and break down what I'm doing, to help me see things from a slightly different perspective. Someone to take me back to those basics and help rebuild from that foundation. In my opinion, as soon as someone stops wanting to be coached, taught, or mentored, I think they're in big trouble. I am determined to keep raising the bar, stretching myself and adapting my game in an effort to help my team be just a little bit better than we were the day before. The past couple of years, everyone has had our team as an AFC favorite before the season began. But with each week, that perception can change. 2 years ago, we made it to the Super Bowl. Our team faced a ton of injuries. We lost not one, but 2 centers that year. We lost our left tackle. In the middle of the season, one of our best players was suspended for 6 games. And then also our head coach had a heart attack, was sidelined for 6 weeks. There were so many reasons that year, because the deck was shuffled, to have given up and given in and say, hey, this is not meant to be. This is not our year. And as each problem piled on, the team desperately hoped for some kind of relief. But hope was not enough. And as a leader, I can assure you that delivering help trumps offering hope any day of the week. As the challenges continued to mount that year, our team never retreated. And trust really became the key. Because being a game changer requires learning how to trust and how to be trusted. And that's game changer number 4, cultivating trust. People have to trust that their leader can influence vital outcomes. My offensive line trusts that when I drop back in the pocket, I'm going to be 6.5 yards deep and release the ball within 2.9 seconds. As a result, they'll block with more confidence and more aggressively. My receivers trust that if they run 18 yards deep, 2 yards right inside the numbers, and they're open, I will deliver the ball to them. This allows them to run their routes with more speed and precision. This in turn is going to help our team move the ball down the field, score touchdowns, help us win games, and also help these players build their individual resumes. This winning mix, it's a combination of unselfish trust, bold instincts, and Herculean effort. The season before last, I had the best statistical season of my 17 years in the league. And if you would have told me that after enduring 4 neck surgeries, an entire season on the sidelines, changing teams and cultures, a new offensive system, teammate shuffling, different offensive coordinators, I wouldn't have just shaken my head. I probably would have called you a liar. Because it would have been easy to have been shell-shocked by a series of dramatic changes like those. And in looking for some way to make sense of it all, the explanation kept pointing to setting a new baseline for myself. I quit comparing myself to the years that I played for the Colts before I was injured. My new baseline was 2012 Denver. Post-injury, a new team, and really a new me. Because as the business climate changes out there for the good or the bad, or your environment changes, leaders have to decide if it's time to draw a new baseline for your organization, your school, your community. And decision-making is the currency of any successful organization. No matter what you do, whether you're in education, business, government, the arts, you have been there. You regularly face decisions with lots riding on the outcome. The bigger that those decisions are, I believe, the fiercer the conversation you should be having with yourself. And what do I mean by fierce? Well, fierce conversations are intense. They're unbridled. They push your limits in all directions in an effort to determine the best course of action. And I think it takes as much courage as it does confidence to look yourself in the mirror, interrogate reality, and then act on the facts that come out of that internal debate. Every leader needs to master the fierce conversation that allows him or her to dig for increased clarity, better understanding, and to muster that energy to move ahead. Every good leader needs to come to grips with confronting challenges, and usually there is no shortage of complexity in those decisions either. It was a major, complex decision for me to come back after my injuries and surgeries and change teams and make Denver my new home. I was constantly in a state of adjustment, some small, some large. Other adjustments are clearly more like major shifts. And I felt better my second year than I did my first. I knew my team's culture better. I knew our offensive system better. I knew my teammates better. And now, with all the significant changes that our team has made this past offseason, that starts all over again. The good news is that most veteran players retire early, not because physically they can't do it anymore, but because they get bored mentally. They get bored with the monotony of the same routine. Well, I can assure you, I am not bored. Leaders cannot allow I don't think that leaders can allow or afford changes to drag them or their organizations down. At a young 39 years old, instead of being bored, I am stimulated by the changes that I'm faced with. And I've gained most of my strength back, but my passes are not the same as before my injuries. But I have learned to adjust to my new physical state in some very specific ways. And that's game changer number 5. Don't be stymied by change. Be stimulated by it. I figured out what my body could and could not do and then adjusted in order to still move the chains down the field. An aging baseball pitcher can't throw the 100-mile-an-hour fastball anymore, but if he can still work that outside corner of the plate, he can still strike a guy out. If you're driving along and the highway is blocked, what do? You take the back roads. So what is your alternative to the fastball? Where are your back roads? How are you going to find a way to still move those chains? If you've watched me play the last 3 seasons, you know that I'm not throwing the ball 65 yards deep throughout the entire game. But I like to think that I throw a pretty accurate 10-yard pass here, a pretty accurate 25-yard pass there, and when I get really, really crazy, maybe the occasional 47-yard pass down the field. I have looked far, and I have found different ways to get our team into the end zone and put us in a position to win. And as usual, I still watch a lot of game film. And I don't just watch it, boy, I really try to devour it. And I can't overemphasize the value of game changer number 6, becoming a master observer. Just the willingness to stop and look at things that no one else has bothered to look at enables game changers to identify real points of meaning. The simple process of focusing on things that are normally taken for granted, that can be a source of great power and creativity because we learn when we observe. We pick up on clues. We figure things out. I can get lost in the intense focus of trying to figure things out that others may never even look at. By watching the tape of our team and our competitors, it helps me put the pieces of those puzzles together. And I can't tell you how long I've watched game film every day because I've never kept a clock. I just watch enough until I feel ready. I watch and I still listen. Growing up, my father created a blueprint for my brothers and I to guide us through the inevitable ups and downs on the way to our dreams. And I still refer to it a lot. And being reassured by its consistency on those days when it's hard to know what you can count on. It's kind of like having my own personal compass to get me back on track when I find myself starting to wander. He always called the concept getting back to zero. He'd say after a bad play, a fumble, or an interception, you have got to erase it from your mind and get back to level 0 so it doesn't drag you further down. It's the same as having a bad day at the office, doing poorly on a test, making a bad deal, or a failed attempt at anything. Erase it from your mind, get back to 0 so it doesn't drag you further down. Because when we're truly clear about our ambitions and priorities, it's easier to remember that we all have to approach our goals yard by yard. And that's just on the good days. Other times we move forward inch by inch. But the key is stay headed in that right direction and not be deterred from our ultimate destination. These last couple of years have been uncharted territory for me. I was confident that I was healthy when I returned, but I wasn't the quarterback of my early years. I had to get back to 0 because there are new decisions to make and new challenges to overcome. The last game changer number 7, is understanding the sustained power and influence that flows from a leader's relationship with others. I stand shoulder to shoulder on my team, from our general manager to our head coach, offensive coordinator, left tackle, 4th assistant equipment manager. These people make me proud to be a player in the NFL. As always, I will rely on my team. I will refer to my team. I will sacrifice for my team. The question is, will you? Our team clearly came up short of our goal last season, but I am proud of what we did accomplish, and together is the only way that we can accomplish our goal and win the world championship. Because remember, we need 2 people for a set of twins. Innovation for an invention. Thunder comes with lightning. There is no child without a parent, no song without a voice, no nation without a flag. And there would be no leaders without people to follow. When you need inspiration to dig deeper, Be stronger, more resilient, and focused on the challenges ahead. Just remember the person sitting next to you tonight or across from you. See their strength, hear their voice, reach out for their hand. Because like any team, it will take each and every one of you to make this community of Athens the place that you continue to be proud of. Thank you all very much, and God bless you.